We'll bring in our political panel this morning. April Chapman is a Project 21 ambassador and the host of the Standard of Truth podcast. And Mally Smith is a Democratic strategist and a former North Carolina political campaign advisor. Great to have you both this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So we'll start with you, April. I mean, we just alluded to everything that had to do with Kilmar Abrego Garcia and the case here. Your reaction to the latest news about how he's an alleged domestic violence abuser, as well as the Democrats who keep trying to paint him as this quote unquote Maryland dad?
It's amazing. They want to shift the narrative, and they want the narrative to be that this gentleman is some American patriot that should be protected. But I think what the American people need to understand, and that what thinking people understand, is that he is into this country illegally, and he does not get afforded the rights and privileges that an American citizen would. I'm concerned that this issue is the hill that the Democrats want to die on. When America has spoken, and we've said overwhelmingly, we want a secure border. We do not want to be a place that harbors illegal aliens. We want this criminal element out of our country because we have our own criminal element that we need to deal with. And so the fact that they are willing to die on this hill and send individuals to the border or to another country to advocate for someone that is in this country unlawfully, not only that, with a checkered past and a documented history of violence, you would think that this is something that would unify all Americans. But as you can see, the donor class and the elites who actually want to create another constituency of subjugated and oppressed individuals they'll stop at nothing to advocate for this criminal and illegal element, which is the most un-American thing one can do.
Good points there, April. Mally, let me come to you. Obviously, your thoughts on this issue, as well as I believe a judge is now considering or has decided that someone in the Trump administration is in contempt of court for refusing to turn the plane around.
Sure. So, I'm not saying this guy is potentially the best person in the world, but with that being said, the Supreme Court ruled unanimously that the Trump administration needs to facilitate his return to the United States. And look, if he is as bad as the Trump administration says he is, they can prove it in a court of law, and he can be deported back to his home country. But we need to go through those due process. He needs to have his due process rights before he is deported anywhere. Due process is not something that is afforded only to perfect individuals. It's afforded to anyone in our country when they're subject to legal action. And what's even more troubling is we've seen the Trump administration not only send folks to El Salvador who are not American citizens, we've seen him talk about how he would like to send American citizens to El Salvador as well, which is incredibly troubling given the fact that he has made it sound like he has no legal power or no political power to work with the El Salvadorian president to get anyone back once he sends them there. So it's a slippery slope the Trump administration is going down.
Mm-hmm. Well, just to your point about due process, I think the fact that MS-13 is designated a terrorist organization, it really supersedes the due process here, because this individual was not only here illegally, he is part of a terrorist organization. And the fact is that the courts actually proved that this person was a member of MS-13. It was 2 Democrat judges who came out and showed this, as well as ICE, as well as the Department of Homeland Security. So there is a tremendous amount of evidence. Just look at the court documents that he is MS-13. And I don't really understand, April, why the Democrats are choosing, specifically Senator Von Halen from the state of Maryland, the same state where Rachel Morin was brutally raped and murdered. She didn't receive a phone call from him, but yet he is now going, he already went to El Salvador to try to meet up with this terrorist. That's his priority right now. Is that not warped thinking? Because I really can't get beyond it.
It's very warped thinking. It's funny when you ask the left to say Laken Riley's name, they are silent. They won't say her name. They don't even enjoy when the conversation is brought up. We've got too many instances where Americans are championing the rights of the criminal elements, and might I not add, if you were in this country illegally, you've already broken a crime. Okay? The President of the United States has the right to protect this nation's borders from intruders, foreign and domestic. And I thought it was interesting that we saw the President of El Salvador sitting down with the President asking, why is it that your media doesn't accurately report what's going on? And I enjoyed watching President Trump let the world know in front of the fake news media that it's because they are interested in crafting a narrative to mislead and lie to the American people, and they're not interested in telling the truth. I think it is high treason for elected officials of this country to be so interested in the well-being of illegal aliens when we have individuals in our local communities who are homeless. I'm not even going to use the language of the left and call them unhoused. We have a fentanyl crisis. We have Americans who are suffering, and they don't go out of their way to do anything for those individuals, but they will raise a flag and cry boohoo tears at a chain link fence for individuals who are not supposed to be here in the first place.
Melly, let me get into the politics of this. I mean, obviously, President Trump is in the White House, and Republicans have majorities in both Senate and the House. And I think illegal immigration, illegal aliens was a huge open border, was a huge issue in that election. And yet the Democrats are picking to, Van Hollen and other Democrats and the left-wing media are picking to try to make this individual a savior in stark contrast to, Rachel Morin, who was brutally raped and murdered. I mean, as a politician or former politician or as an advisor, is that the right horse to be playing for Democrats?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of passion on this issue on both sides. I think there's obviously some folks on the progressive left who are concerned about this issue. So yes, I think as we get closer to the midterm elections, there'll probably be a shift where there is more of a focus on the economy, specifically Trump's tariff plans and what's happened to the stock market, what's happened to consumer inflation expectations, the job market. So I think as we get closer to the election, there'll probably be a reorganization of what we're focusing on.
In other words, they shouldn't be doing it, but that's my analysis. But
yeah, I mean, Democrat or Republican, I don't understand, again, how anyone could be defending this individual, and even talking about due process, talking about the fact that this sets a precedent. It sets a precedent that we should be deporting every single one of the MS-13 gang members, and we shouldn't have any roadblocks because this is a national security issue and resulting in women who are brutally raped and murdered. It is a no-brainer for me, but let's move on. HHS Secretary RFK Jr. talking about a new report showing that the rates of autism diagnoses are on the rise again.
This is a preventable disease. We know it's an environmental exposure. It has to be. Genes do not cause epidemics. They can provide a vulnerability. You need an environmental toxin. Within 3 weeks, and probably we're hoping in 2 weeks, we're going to announce a series of new studies to identify precisely what the environmental toxins are that are causing it. This has not been done before, and we're going to do it in a thorough and comprehensive way, and we're going to get back to with an answer to the American people very, very quickly. We're going to follow the science no matter what it says, and we will have some of the answers by September.
It's great news in terms of having the answers finally as to what we're seeing in terms of these stats. Your thoughts on this, April?
Honestly, the answers to this issue have been around, and the writing has been on the wall for a very long time. It's just now we have someone in the administration who is actively advocating for this information to be made public so that the American people can know what to do. My family has been strong advocates of wanting to protect ourselves from the toxic overload that this country perpetually exposes Americans to. Our soil is toxic. Our food supply is toxic. Our air is toxic. I'm not a tree-hugging environmentalist environmentalist at all. However, I am very much aware of so many chemicals and toxins that are in our food supply that have done unintended consequences to our children, our pregnant mothers. The rates of autism and how high they are getting worse. It's because our FDA and the CDC has actively suppressed so much of this information for a very long time. And then those of us who've been advocating for this for a while, our voices have been silent. But it is a new day. I am looking forward to seeing this report. I have reason to believe that polysorbate 80, thimerosal, lead, cadmium, all kinds of toxins that are in our food and water supply are going to be implicated in the gut biome and the gut issues that so many of these autistic children experience. And so this is great news. I think this is a step in the right direction to getting Americans healthy again. But I want to be sure that individuals who knew this information and who suppressed it are going to also be held accountable.
Yeah, Mally, I know this is a complex issue. I have a background in science, and I'm glad RFK Jr. is bringing attention to it. However, as a trained scientist, I'm a little bit skeptical we're going to have an answer by September. But I am glad that he's bringing attention to this. I just hope we'll be able to find the right degree of information so the American people could see what they're being exposed to or not. But your thoughts?
So in that clip, RFK Jr. said he was going to follow the science. Well, in his first appearance, he didn't follow the science because the CDC's report said that the reason we have more diagnosis of autism is that we have better screening, which has led to increased folks being diagnosed. So he's already breaking his vow to follow the science. And look, I think it would be great to look at toxins in the water, toxins in the air, to see if there is a connection to autism and to see how it might be impacting our health. My colleague talked about the gut microbiome. I think that's a very interesting area of study as well. But I think we need to be careful here that we don't jump to conclusions we want to find and we want to be led to, because RFK Jr. Has continually peddled false science, especially his claim that vaccines lead to autism. The idea that vaccines lead to autism has been thoroughly debunked multiple times, and I'm just concerned that RFK Jr. Wants to find the answer he's predisposed to want to find.
Well, hopefully we'll get more information as this research develops. But I agree, we need to be very careful with our conclusions, because autism is very complex. There's not even a medical test for it. It's not like you take a blood test and say you have autism. So it's a difficult thing to challenge. But let's shift gears here. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders taking on food stamps.
Today, I submitted a waiver to ban soft drinks and candy from Arkansas's food stamp program. America spends $119 billion each year on food stamps, and nearly a quarter of that spending goes towards things like soft drinks, candy, and dessert. That's not a nutrition program. It's actively harming people's health. 1/3 of Arkansans have diabetes or are pre-diabetic. We need to make big changes if we're going to turn those statistics around. Food stamps are a great place to start. One study showed that just by removing sugary drinks from food stamps, we could prevent obesity in 141,000 kids.
April, so the governor there is making points about food stamps being used to increase, actually, you can make the argument, obesity rates around the country. And look, one of the challenges we have, there's a lot of food out there, and it's very cheap.
Right.
But maybe there is an angle here where you start to get people towards healthier diets and healthier lifestyles by reducing the ability for them to use food stamps. April, your thoughts?
I am such a huge fan of Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She's just amazing. And I think this is a step in the right direction. When we look at childhood obesity rates, you have children who are being diagnosed as type 2 diabetics as early as the age of 5. And a lot of that has to do with poor diet choices that are, unfortunately, sugar, high carbohydrate diets are a proximate cause. And so a lot of people will say, oh, it's just, get the kid and let them run. That is one component. But we do need to take a look at what the government is funding in terms of food choices. And I would support this because if you think about it, having sugary drinks and a lot of food dyes being included into the food supply. If a child is diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic at the age of 5, now you've got another patient to funnel into the medical establishment. They're going to be on drugs. They're going to be eventually on insulin. It really creates a population that is drug dependent and overweight. And this is something that can be completely preventable. I remember growing up in a single parent household. And at one point, we had to rely on government subsidy. And it was very restrictive in terms of what you could purchase. And I didn't see a whole lot of children significantly overweight when I was growing up. But fast forward to today, the numbers are astronomical at how many of our young people are carrying visceral fat around the belly area, and they're 5 years old. And so my thing is government money or assistance always comes with strings attached. This just happens to be one of the positive strings that they are wanting to attach to that program to prevent the onslaught of, or they're trying to lower the incidences of obesity and childhood diabetes.
Mally, we only have about a minute, but final thoughts to you.
Sure, I agree. We have a lot of work to do on our food system and to make sure we're a healthier country. So I think this can be part of the answer, but I also think we need to take actions to incentivize grocery stores and folks that sell whole foods and fresh foods in low income areas, because a lot of folks live in food deserts where the only place they can get food potentially is a gas station, where, as we know, gas stations aren't known for selling healthy food. It's sodas and candy bars. So I think this is good, but it should be paired with other actions to make sure that we're selling whole foods in neighborhoods, so poor folks have access to cheap but healthy food.
Well, definitely an issue that should be getting bipartisan support. It's a no-brainer. April Chapman, Mally Smith, great to have you. Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you.
having me.